Welkom bij het tweede vlog van Ogma.nu. En opnieuw in het kader van de dekselse Detective Dinsdag ga ik een stukje voorlezen van het boek dat ik voor die rubriek heb gerecenseerd. Namelijk Murder in the Afternoon by Frances Brody, a Kate Shackleton mystery. Dit verhaal dat speelt zich af eind jaren 20, midden eind jaren 20 van de vorige eeuw. Het gaat over een vrouwelijke detective, Kate Shackleton. Nou, ik ga er gewoon maar niet te veel over vertellen. En ik begin bij het begin, na de proloog. Het is weer in het Engels. Volgende keer wellicht weer eens in het Nederlands. Maar dit boek heb ik in het Engels gelezen. Dus lees ik ook in het Engels voor. Monday. Pipistrel Lodge, Headingley. Time goes by turns, and chances change by course, from foul to fair, from better hap to worse. Robert Southwell. 1. The railway carriage lurched, flinging me forward. Bolts of lightning struck as the carriage toppled. Gasping, I grabbed for something to hold on to. The screech of brakes jerked me awake. I opened my eyes to find myself in bed. The journey from King's Cross to Leeds completed hours ago, and safely. What woke me was the persistent, loud knocking at my front door. Since my room is at the back of the house, overlooking the wood, whoever had summoned me from slumber was hammering the knocker as if to tell me the house was on fire. The clock on my bedside table said 4 o'clock. Suki had made a pillow of my dressing gown and did not take kindly to having it pulled from under her, an unseemly intrusion for a cat in her delicate condition. At the bottom of the stairs I stuck my toe in the portmanteau, dumped there last night by the taxi driver. I flicked on the light switch. Turning the key in the lock and opening the door, I peered into the gloom, expecting some messenger of doom. A woman wearing cape and hood stood in the shadow of the porch. Mrs. Shackleton? Her voice was slightly breathless, as though she were nervous or had been hurrying. What sort of mad woman rushes out in the middle of the night and runs through the streets in the pouring rain? Yes, I'm Mrs. Shackleton. I must talk to you. When I did not straight away open the door wider, she added, My husband's gone missing. I felt groggy with tiredness. You best go to the police. They would have detectives on night duty. Her snort, part laugh, part groan, dismissed my suggestion before she spoke. The police? I've tried. They're neither use nor ornament. She seemed unaware of the time and offered no apology for disturbing me. A north wind howled down the street, driving horizontal bullets of rain. Imagining that a person intent on foul play would not hammer the door knocker loudly enough to wake half of Headingley, I fumbled to undo the latch chain. As the light from the hall fell on her face, she looked very young and pale as the moon. Without waiting for an invitation, the woman stepped inside, dripping rain onto the mat. I shut the door behind her. Let me take your cape. She unhooked and shook off a dark plaid cape, creating a pool of water on the polished wood floor. Thank you. Her lips were pale, but 2 unnaturally bright spots of pink lit her cheeks. Perhaps she suffered from consumption. The pulses in her throat throbbed. I left my umbrella on the train. I caught the milk train. I've run from Headingley station. I hung the cape on the newel post, again stubbing my toe in the suitcase. You better come through, Mrs. Armstrong. Mary Jane Armstrong. The dining room doubles as my office, but no fire had been lit in there for a week since before I left for London. I led her through the kitchen. This way. The fire will be out, but will be warmer in here. She followed me. I handed her a towel. Dry yourself a little. She moved like someone who had walked out of the sea and would shortly return to Neptune. I don't care about being wet. But she rubbed at her hair, which fell in damp, wavy strands below her ears. Her hooded cape had provided little protection from the deluge. She was in her mid or late 30s, about 5'4", plump and pretty, with clear white skin and abundant hazelnut brown hair, swept up and caught with tortoise shell combs and pins. It looked as though it may have started out neat, but now wavy tendrils escaped the combs. Strands of hair hung below her shoulders where the pins had fallen out. She wore a calf-length bottle green skirt and a white blouse with a locket at her throat. Her shoes were so well polished that the rain slid off the leather. I drew out a chair, leaving her to recover for a moment while I went into the dining room. Who was she, and what had brought her here at this hour? Something about her seemed so very familiar. She reminded me of someone, and I couldn't think who. I lifted the decanter from the sideboard along with a brandy balloon. At the kitchen table I poured brandy into the glass. Here, drink this. You look as if you need it, and then you can tell me what brings you here. She cupped the glass in both hands and stared intently into it, as if the amber liquor created a crystal ball and the future would become startlingly clear. Then she looked at me from eyes that were the same hazelnut brown as her hair. There was intensity in her gaze, as though what she could not find in the brandy balloon she would see in my eyes. Where did I know her from? Nou, we'll leave it at this. We laten het hierbij. Ik zit helemaal in de Engelse sfeer. Murder in the Afternoon, Kate Shackleton Mystery by Frances Brody. Uitgegeven door uitgeverij Piatkes. Had er nog nooit van gehoord. En je kunt er van alles over lezen bij de Dekselse Detective Dinsdag op Ogma.nu.